Hey, what's up? I think we're 1 minute early, which is sweet. I'm here with Jared Jewell, the collaborator on this awesome project. I think we got a lot of people waiting in the chat, so thanks everyone for waiting and being here on the launch day. We're excited. As I was about to launch, I was like, I should have made a cool intro video, and I always think that, and I never do it, but I will one of these days. Hendon Schneily, what's up? Crisis Comics, Bailned, Fearsome Bullet, hello everyone, Chimera. So Jared, we streamed like was it like a few years ago or was it a year ago during the brainstorming session of Hotel Story, I think. One other time you've been live with me.
Yeah, it was. I think it was about a year ago. Like it was for one of our like work meetings. We decided to kind of do that live just to kind of
Yeah.
just to try that out.
Yeah, so you have been on the channel once before, and we kind of introduced the project even then, but it's always been in the background, and because we were just working in the shadows, kind of. But then, basically, a week ago, we finished it, part one. But when I say we, I mean you more than me. You're the main workhorse on this. This is your baby. Hey, Crystal McGee, what's up?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good. Thanks for joining us. 1 second here. I'm gonna set my stuff up a little better. I think I'm gonna turn on my. So Crystal, you haven't met Jared. Jared's my cartoonist collaborator buddy.
Hey.
We met like 10 years ago or something in Iowa City, so we can
Oh, at
tell
a
some of that
convention?
story. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and Jared Crystal's got The Good Night, which is a cool book, and some
Cool.
other ones.
Yeah,
Cool.
She's a ghostwriter in Hollywood, which is a cool job too.
quite entertaining. A lot of stories.
Yeah, yeah. They're some of the ones you've told on the channel are funny and cool.
Dude, I could just
Uh,
go for days. It's
yeah,
not funny.
the one of the ones that you were making me laugh. You said that they run scripts through like a bot to determine if it passes the Bechdel test. That made me
Yes,
laugh.
dude. That can pull your hair out. It's infuriating. They still do it, so you're never safe.
Yeah,
Yep,
that's funny. That's so backwards, kind of. It's so
I know.
cool. So I'm gonna throw up the campaign, and yeah. So I think the kind of loose structure is me and Jared are gonna kind of try and reminisce, and Crystal, you can kind of be like co-host a little bit of like if you have any questions as we discuss, but we're gonna do like an oral history of the project because we do plan on doing it's on the campaign. You can buy it a making of book. It's going to be
Oh, I
64
love
pages.
those.
Yeah, because we have like hundreds of emails, and I screen capped all of them because that's kind of the format for the your boy Zach bonus
Hmm.
stuff. We had some kind of cool sequences of making of there, but I was like, let's do like a full big one because another aspect is we have tons of development art, and that was kind of part of the process that separates this project from other ones I've worked on. Is it's kind of like two heads are better than one, or but
Hmm.
we because there's two of us, we're doing. Sometimes if it's just me, like I won't even really do a character design phase. I'll kind of just draw whatever I feel like drawing, and that's it. But
Hmm.
we designed every character, made sure that their name and their look and how they talked and their personality all fit perfectly, and so that kind of due diligence has like paid off, and now it feels like a very like self-assured, knowing what it's like, very like it knows its own identity. This book, it's very kind of confident, I guess you could say.
That's so cool when things gel like that.
Yeah, yeah, so I'm going to update it. It might internet's a little slow, so it might take a second to update, but two people snuck in there right away, and it hadn't updated the numbers yet even. So, and I'm always nervous when I launch. I'm like, are all the numbers correct? Are we getting there? Yeah. So 7 backers, 364. Thanks everyone. We're off to a great little start here. Jared, how does that feel seeing those numbers go up? Are you getting the dopamine?
Uh, yeah. Yes, yeah. It's starting to. Yeah. I
Yeah.
can. Yeah.
because this is new for you. Like this is your first public crowdfund campaign, sort of second live stream. But and then I was just gonna say because I've been kind of all over the place, but yeah, Jared's the artist. So this is he drew 121 pages. We the workflow is we use 3D backgrounds, so we built the 3D backgrounds together. Then he did all the layouts, and then passes them to me, and I kind of double check the storytelling, and then he draws all the characters over the top of the 3D backgrounds, and then he colored most of them. I helped with some of the coloring too. So it's a ton of work that Jared threw together. And then on the writing side, we co-wrote it together, have all the emails back and forth. The design sense was like part of the writing almost because we were like designing it as we go. We're trying to make everything coalesce and fit well together and kind of feel like this complete package. And it's eventually going to be two parts. This is part one, but it is self-contained. Like it has a climax and everything, but then it does continue. And when you put the two together, that makes it pretty much like a 2-hour adventure movie kind of thing. Like the middle point is kind of like the way Kill Bill was split up a little bit, like that kind of middle point. Yeah. Yeah. So shoot, what else was I going to say? Oh, so for the writing, I approached Jared and I had this back burner idea, and I think I had attempted a version of the script and kind of hit a dead end. And I'd sent it to Von Kloss way back in the day. Like I'm trying to even remember exactly what it was. It was kids on a school bus, a basketball team, and they meet a school bus of girls on the highway, and they're like flirting on the highway, and then someone they ended up getting involved in like a witch's spell of mass sacrifice at a hotel because they had to stay overnight because a bridge traffic opening had to stop, so they both had to stay at a hotel. And then they were gonna and I used to work at a hotel in my 20s. So in that version, even more than this version, I had like all these plot points surrounding how Opera works. Opera is like the reservation system that many hotels use. And it was so like nitty gritty, authentic, but it was like not looking back on it. That's one of the things that we toned way back was like, we're not going to get nitty gritty with opera in this thing. But there are anecdotes that are in this story that like I lived in real life, especially just even the opening, which I've read those pages on stream, a couple preview sessions. And one of them is, it opens with like Chuck Huxenbaugh, who's kind of this asshole rich guy, whatever. He's super mad that he booked a king, but then when he gets there, there's only a double queen available, so he's like yelling at him or whatever, like, give me my king, I booked a king. That happened to me. And the thing that happens is because if it's through Expedia like kind of screws the hotels a little bit because they tell if you book the night of when it's like almost a sold out night. So it's kind of like when you check king, it's like your preference, but Expedia won't give you, they only give you what's available. So you think that you picked a king, but really if it's on a sold out night, you just get whatever the hotel.
Whatever's there, dude. So like what other crazy stories do you have? Like
oh yeah, so
hospitality.
That one was it that happened and it's in the comic. And then there's one that wasn't in the comic. And it was like this woman that she was coming down every weekend all summer. And she would talk to me kind of a lot because I was like young and in like a nice suit and tie and stuff. So I think like an old lady crush on me.
I guess.
And and she was talking all the time. But then so I learned about her life or whatever. And her life was that her husband and son had both like died recently independently of each other. So she was like just super depressed. She was always eating ice cream. So that was like her thing partly to deal with. And she was going on vacations every weekend, but just this one random hotel and then talking to me a lot. And it almost got to the point too where I think she was like talking to me almost too much. And then I wasn't reciprocating enough. So then she like got mad at me and never talked to me again. That's happened to me twice with old ladies.
Freaky, dude.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're also working, so like you can talk, but like not that much either.
Yeah. So it was like that, but yeah. So it was just kind of funny seeing her like always eating ice cream. Oh, and she was very negative, but you can't blame her. But she was so negative, but then she was nice to me, and that's where you know when that's happening too. You're like, they will turn on me eventually. It's only by
Yep.
the grace of God that they're being nice to me right now. And
Yep.
one
Because they're
false
looking for something. Yeah.
yeah, then you get on their shit side, and then you see the side of it, whatever that's here. DJD says hit that like button. Henry Beebus is here. Thanks, man. He's posting the link. Sark's here. Yeah. Also, let me see what if we. Cool. We're getting backers. I appreciate everyone. I'll update it again, and we'll see. So me and Jared are curious how this is going to do. We're splitting it 50-50. So, we're like hoping 20K minimum but it's going to be open 4 months. So I'm like, it's open 4 months. And we set it at the 1,000 goal. So it's kind of that old school version of CG where it's just like, we'll hit that. I get, day one, we're going to hit 1,000. Almost 1,000. So thanks everyone. Jared, what do you think? Are you getting the dopamine dopamine check on Jared? How do you feel?
I'm feeling good.
Nice. Yeah, because So let me ask Jared. Let me pivot and kind of interview you for just a little bit.
Sure.
So this is your first big comic project, big crowd fund, but you've been like an artist, like a professional artist, kind of since I knew you, doing like you and me at the same time. We're doing odd jobs here and there, and then you've worked in Iowa City for like some video game companies and stuff like that. But one of the things I remember when we first met is you have this very iconic style, which I can scroll down and we can look at it. So like this, like it's like super cartoony, super evocative. Like his run here, like I kind of wish I could zoom in, but this running animation, the big eyes, pointy noses, and kind of that kind of stuff. This page too is great, and we can look at some pages that aren't even on the campaign today. We'll like do some previews, checking that out. But where does that come from? How did you develop that? Like, were you drawing like that in high school? We'll start with that. So I don't want to overload you with questions.
Right. I mean, I guess like in high school, there was there might be some traces of that still left over from what my current style kind of looks like, but it's definitely kind of gone through different phases of different things. But yeah, a lot of it, like a lot of it does come from we've talked a little bit about it in the background as far as like kind of what style that we want to use for the book, but a lot of UPA, a lot of like 1950s modern cartoon kind of sensibilities, like really simplistic, almost geometric shape design. And then also I know in college, like I was taking a lot more inspiration from from German expressionist paintings, stuff like Ernst Ludwig Kirchner.
What is he? What is that? Is that like kind of can be seen traces in this work? Is it like cartoony, or is it like even there's pages we do where you draw the bottles on the bar in a white line over the background, and then it's just a flat fill behind it. And I know Chuck Jones did that in like the UPA era, but he didn't do the UPA animation style as much.
Right. I mean that's more that's more in the line of of UPA, and then I think also like Scott Wills, Bill Ray, I guess I think Bill Ray might be a bit more painterly with his backgrounds. I know, just not just thinking off the top of my head. I think, but yeah, definitely Scott Wills.
I'm going to Google some of them and look at it, because this is kind of a fun thing we can do of talking about like cartooning, because you have this like more vast knowledge of it than I do. I am also going to pull up a little bit of some of these other pages where I can zoom in and we can look at some of the art.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah. So this could be a hard question to ask because you have to use words, and maybe I should just Google it. But the German expressionist, what does that bring to it in your ingredients if you're building your style?
Um, that
Let me see. I've been showing real quick. Sorry, I've been showing the first 13 pages is kind of a great preview. And we made the trailer, and it was fun because the trailer works
That
great
was
as
so
a
nice.
thanks. Yeah, and it was cool because we just showed like the first third of the story is kind of implied quickly in the trailer, and then that's like the marketing. Or then I realized we had this trailer that doesn't have spoilers, but it does let you know exactly what you're in store for. So that's kind of like a good trailer. And I'm like, what's the problem with modern trailers? Partly it's that they don't even have like good stories, so they can't even take like the first
They
third.
spoil everything too.
Yeah, they have to spoil. It's like a crutch to even be able to like sell it or whatever. They have to reveal. Um, yeah, so I don't know. Like this page has some like cool stuff. Like even the background characters have cool designs. Um, and like this guy, the gestures. Um, but sorry, Jared, I cut you off with the German expressionism. If I know that's a hard question to answer, I am googling it as you talk too. But
right. I mean, I know like in that in that roughly in that time period that or even like film and like especially film too. Like they um like a lot like they took a lot of inspiration from what German film directors were, well, not the painters, but or sorry, uh, like with a lot of film noir, like they were taking a lot of inspiration from the German expressionist movement, like using a lot of use a lot of low key lighting, using putting a lot more work into uh, in the composition, and I guess like some of that can be seen
yeah,
in like a lot of that can be seen in like in the paintings of the time too.
okay, yeah, because the films I see it like this, I'm like that looks like Jared's style kind of. I can see the DNA there, and some of these angular kind of perspective-y kind of stuff, and that those are from the films. And then yeah, the paintings they look sweet, but I don't know like if
Yeah,
that's a
and then
painting.
also like a lot of yeah, especially like woodcut paintings, like I've been trying to find some good examples of Kirchner's woodcuts, but like
Oh, here's one.
because I think his woodcuts are really are really good. Like I kind of like them more than his paintings. And
Cool.
then like Matt,
Yeah,
like
this is funny. This looks your DNA is in this too. This is awesome. Um, yeah, yeah, these woodcuts are cool. Look at that. Yeah. So one random thing that because we had some I don't know if it's like false starts. We did finish some projects, but so we met in Iowa City, and I can tell that story real quick too. Is like I had moved to Iowa City to help my buddy Lou George on a movie, and I was there for like 18 months, and I could have been there longer, but it kind of just like was getting old. I didn't really want to be there, so I ended up moving away. But and Iowa City's crazy too. The weather is like insane. The winters are so cold, and they last like 6 months at least, I think. But then the summers are pretty nice. Um, and Jared knows what I'm talking about. There was one time I had to walk I was out of food, so I had to walk to the grocery store to get food because I didn't have a car. It was like a 10-block walk, not that crazy, like a 10-minute walk or something. But it was like negative 10 degrees outside and windy. So I was walking backwards. And so the wind would blow on because if it blew into my like freaking hood, then it would like the negative shit would like frost my ears off. So I had to walk backwards, and I made it 2 blocks. And I was like, "Fuck this! This is like I might die." So I went back and I ate top ramen for 2 more days, and then the weather calmed down, and then I went and got some food. But it was like, damn, that's like just Iowa City being like weird survival kind of stuff. Um, but I was there, and there's Iowa University of Iowa is there. That's the name of the college, right, Jared?
yeah, yep,
And you went there, I think, right?
yeah, yep.
Okay, so you're a graduate of University of Iowa, and that was walking distance from where I live too. So I would walk there and kind of join some clubs. Like I joined an anime club, and there was a video game making club that I joined. And that's where I met Jared. And then through that video game club, Jared organized a comic book jam, like a 24. It might have even been 48-hour, but it was like a 24-hour comic book jam, and that was really fun. Like we all slept in on campus on the floor, and we were just like working in their cool lab with all the cool computers and drawing tablets, and we were working on comics for like 24 hours. And there were other cool people in the club, but Jared stood out right away that he kind of was the one who had like this idea. Like he had like some solid things to bring to the table, and it was always like that all that. So that was like 10 or 12 years ago, and so I would hit him up randomly and we'd try to work together. We started a Robin Hood script, and it kind of, that ended up kind of fizzling out. We started a adaptation of Franz Kafka's The Trial, but with Game Boy graphics, because Jared's also really good at pixel art, and we can share some of that. It actually is cool, and we have that
That would
full.
be neat to see, dude. You should pull that up.
Okay, yeah. As I'm kind of talking, I'll try and pull that up because we have the whole first issue done, but we sent it. It was going to be included in the B sides of the shorts compendium, but the editor was like, it's like hard to follow. He had so many questions about what was happening. Whereas when we're just doing comics, you know, we can make the clarity super strong, especially when it's both of us. We like go back and forth and like, what will the audience perceive? Is this going to make sense? But then with that format, it was way harder to like make the story kind of make sense. And it like I could show it to you and it still made sense, but just little things would kind of, and it would take like a reworking of the lettering and some of the format and layout just here and there. We could do it in a couple of days with both of us working on it, but we kind of burnt out at that point because it just ended it with chapter 1, 2, and I'm like, I don't think we're going to do the full thing. And with that story too, that was one of the first things that I reached out to Jared about it had been a couple of years, I think. And that was because of Earthbound 2 doing so well that I had the budget to kind of reinvest in some comics. So Jared was at the top of my list where I was like, I want to like be working with him and hiring him. So that was like our first project. And then shortly after that, at some point we were talking about maybe doing a project. We had brainstormed some other scripts, and we were going to do something. And I was thinking like, maybe we should do a big one. And maybe what script should we do? Should we do this dead end one I have with the hotel survival witch thing? And I'm trying to remember because somehow I hit like a dead end and I forget why I originally hit the dead end, but I kind of simplified it. I told Jared, like, it's just going to be, you know, this kind of simple story. And one of Jared's things is he's pretty stoic and he's not super judgmental either way about stuff. So it's funny. I pitch it to him. I'm like, so what do you think? And he's like, maybe. And I'm like, okay, like, I'm not sure. I don't know if we should or not either. And I'm like, but we kind of go for it. And I think by the end I won Jared over too, because once in a while I can get it out of him where he's like, yeah, I do like it. I do like think it's good or whatever. I'm like, sweet. We're putting all this. We're building something cool here. But it was like, and we have that in the emails. It's like me being like, all right, this is what we should do. So then we scheduled a meeting. We jumped in and we started brainstorming kind of a reworking of that idea. We lost the boys and girls basketball idea, but it actually changed to a tennis tournament. And it was the whole intro of like, it starts right in the hotel, whereas it's not like on the highway with the boys and girls. But in that old script, sorry, I should ask one of you guys a question so I can look up the what's it called, the comic with the Game Boy thing, because I can't do two things at once yet. By the way, we got 43 people watching. Everyone, thanks for being here.
Hey.
Yeah, we're getting some backers. Thank you so much, everyone. Day one support is much appreciated. This is going to be up for 4 months. It's completely done, by the way. but we want as many people to read it as possible. This is my favorite project I've worked on. Eventually, Earthbound Grand Prix might tie it, but Earthbound Grand Prix is just getting started. So this is like one that I hold near and dear to my heart. A great collaboration with Jared, and like it turned out so good. One of the things I was thinking is it, and I put this into one of the emails to promote it to some of the Indiegogo backers, one of the updates for previous projects. But I was like, it reads really smooth. Like we really did do tons of due diligence for the clarity of the story, and that smoothness that helps with the pacing and everything. It kind of all coalesces together to help it be this project that can really like get people stuck to their seat reading the thing all the way through. But so Jared, yeah. So what was your education in Iowa City? Like, what were you studying and stuff like that?
Um, originally I was a drawing. Originally I was a drawing BFA. Um, and that's pretty much the majority of my like because like originally I transferred over from a community college to get my gen eds out of the way, and then I was able to get you know a couple drawing classes done while I was there too. Uh, when I transferred over, I was able to clear the fundamental drawings like with my portfolio, so I was able to kind of focus more on focus more on the actual discipline, like the discipline side of my education there. But yeah, it was mostly drawing, like mostly mostly a drawing major. I wound up switching to intermedia near the end of the year because there was like a there's kind of a uh, in professorship, like in between classes, and like what should have been essentially my workshop, like the workshop class, that was supposed to be, you know, kind of like the class that was it was supposed to be the class where where I'd be focusing on like a more of a thesis kind of project. That got they got a visiting professor to work to teach that class because the teacher who was supposed to teach it wound up retiring early. So and that class wound up like that class wound up being more of a concepts class of something that you would take more um, kind of like in the like kind of like in like your second or third year of college. So like that was kind of a disappointment, and I had already at that point I had already completed enough of my intermediate track to kind of switch over without too much delay, to kind of have a chance at doing a more of a thesis project for that, for that. But and by intermedia, that's kind of like I kind of define that as just like uh, you know, art disciplines that kind of extend, or that are a bit more outside of like painting, drawing, sculpture, photography. Like it, like you can like people are still able to people are still able to do like to do like anything within that discipline. It's just kind of a it's kind of like it kind of like it's kind of an extension of not an extension, but like it kind of like it for anything that doesn't quite fit in like fit in the realm of like one single discipline. Like you can kind of define that as sort of intermedia. Like a lot of it is like durational performance stuff. I wasn't like I didn't really do much of that. Like a lot of it too is like time-based media, which, you know, this is more like video art, video editing, all that stuff.
Mm.
Uh, at the time, like also while I was there, they didn't really have animation as like a full tracked course or anything. They had they had some courses, you know, as an elective, and I did wind up taking a bunch of those. And I wound up doing an honors project with the professor teaching animation there at the time. So it kind of made sense for me to kind of switch over to intermedia, since the drawing program kind of, I don't want to say it fell off, but it like like I said, like I mentioned before, there's a bit of a change in uh, professorship.
Yeah, nice. Did you learn like some 3D Blender type stuff then, or was it a little bit after college? Or
Yeah, so like I will say like most of the animation that was taught there was mostly 3D. Like we were taught Maya for that. Like the funny thing is that like I had a design fundamentals class where like we we were given like a really brief introduction to 3ds Max, which is another 3D program. Like it's another 3D program like under the Autodesk uh, brand. And a lot of like the 3D design students who are doing like more uh, not interior design, but like in like more uh, industrial design kind of stuff. They learn more in 3ds Max, and then like I had to relearn like the 3D that I picked up from that when I was taking those in the for the animation classes. We did have a couple like uh, in the begin the intro to animation course. They did have a couple projects that were like the first one was a traditional one, like where you drew on paper. Well, like that was an option that you can do. You can draw on paper, or you could do like a or you could do a stop motion, or you can do like something that kind of like falls into that realm of like of an into the realm of animation, so like it could have been like literally like a paper cutout stop motion kind of thing. But I did do a traditional draw. I did do traditional animation for that first project. The second project we did was using Flash, and I think in later years they switched over to After Effects. And then
oh yeah, yeah. Flash was like a bygone era, and
yeah,
that's fun. I remember those days. Real quick, let's pivot just real quick, and we'll come back to this. But I want to show you guys the trial. So I realized this is like so the plan we're doing the Game Boy, and then we do cinematic panels once in a while. So it's not just all Game Boy stuff. But yeah, like this is like Jared made all these graphics for like the guy in his
Wow.
room, the guy talking, and then he like, and part of me is like, oh, I want to make this like an actual game or make it an animation that uses this, but then it's kind of fun as a comic. But this is totally done. And I was thinking, other than we need to do that 2-day pass to like make the flow work better. I was thinking like, dang, we could sell this as a bonus book at some point. Jared is like a 20-page bonus book, but it is like it just ends, after chapter 1 or 2 of the book, and we kind of don't plan on finishing it, so it's kind of sitting there. I'm not sure what we'll end up doing, but yeah, like you can see the gentleman coming in and the guy talking, and it gets more collagey as we went to like some of these pages, um, and yeah. So this was kind of a
Really
fun.
neat, dude.
Yeah, thanks. Like here, yeah, like this style's cool. Like the inspector wants you. And yeah, so that was our kind of collaboration. It had been maybe a few years. I think maybe Robin Hood was before that, and which kind of fizzled out. But so we got back in touch, finished this project, and then pivoted to Hotel Story. But the other kind of fun thing is I found the Robin Hood stuff. So I think I can share it here. Let me see.
Please, dude.
Yeah, yeah. So the Robin Hood stuff, you guys can see like that. So this is sketches, but this is like so UPA, like this, and this is that cool design sense, like so confident and fun. This is all Jared's art. If you could imagine a Robin Hood story with this art, it would be so cool. But so the Robin Hood thing, the other thing is that was the first, that was the script I wrote right before Earthbound, and I had written like 10 scripts before that were bad, and it's you always know by like reading it again 3 months later. And I wonder, Crystal, if you can relate, like in that era when you're kind of still learning, like our 20s or whatever, at some point
Mhm.
it kind of ends where you look back, you read a script and you're like, I actually kind of like it, but there's a long
Yes,
time.
dude. That's
Yeah.
why, like, I keep all of my scripts like on hard drives or like physical copies. And then sometimes, like, you go through life and then something happens, and then you're like, wait, this script is like now speaking to me. when I was ready to just like toss it in the trash.
Yeah, yeah, and you can rework it, repurpose it. And Robinhood might be like that, but I have a lot. So I had these older ones where, and I'm still like, I actually do revisit them sometimes, and I'm like, yep, still sucks. but
Yeah.
but Robinhood was the first one that wasn't super terrible, but it's still, even in hindsight, it wasn't fully there. There wasn't a full actual like plot or point. It's kind of like I didn't, but ended up being like 130 pages, and it introduced some random shit that goes nowhere. But it had some fun stuff. It had like a thieving subplot of like what's it called, the gift of the Gemini plot, where someone stole someone's knife and someone else stole the scabbard. So they both were useless without each other, and they ran away because then they had to go back and meet each other again to kind of make the deal to combine the knife with the scabbard. So like that stuff was all cool, and that there was a little bit of like that in there. But so I went through a phase where an Earthbound hadn't been written yet, so I was like, this one isn't terrible. Everything else I've written is terrible. So maybe this one can be like a project. And I didn't have a budget, so I just emailed Jared, and we're kind of working for free. And then sometimes that's kind of why it fizzles out too. And life happens, other stuff happens. But I realized like a fair amount of work. We had like a full script, even though it wasn't good enough. Here's this guy like with the little mustache and the sloping eyes and stuff. The king, like, so this is a design page where the king is different in every drawing, but you can see like the fun different designs. And actually, now as I look at these, I'm like, here's some German expressionism or something. Is that's like a woodcut kind of thing? Jared, do you have any? Was this your era where you're definitely looking at some of that?
Yeah, I would say this was definitely like a bit more of a self-indulgent kind of era. Like, so,
Well, I that's one note I give you sometimes. I'm like, you should like more in your comfort zone, more self-indulgent, more iconic, because that's what I like the most. But then I know Jared's also like always, evolving. So I'm like, no, your style from like 2 years ago, do that. And but it's all connected. And so like if you look at these and then you look at Hotel Story, you can see the
I think that might be this.
Yeah, the same. Yeah, so here's the lute player guy. Yeah. Yeah, here's like a little different style. This is like illustration style kind of this guy. Nice. Yeah, I'm remembering like a little bit of the plot when I see these guys. That there is no plot pretty much. Oh, and this is not Jared's art. It's what's her name, Jared? Tara, yeah, because she was in the video game club too. So, and we've kind of lost touch, but she was part of this project.
Do you have like any images of like Robin Hood himself?
I think this might be.
Oh, that one. Cool.
Yeah. And this might be an attempt or a first pass. The thing too, I do remember part of the story is that it kind of plays with the idea that the legend of Robin Hood wasn't one guy, it was three guys. And if they
okay. So kind of like King Arthur type of
Yeah. Book. Yeah, they all combine to make the legend. So there's like one guy who represents the kind of more wild badass side, one guy who represents the more lordy side, and et cetera kind of thing. Yeah, and so that's
such a cool idea to play with too.
Yeah, and as I said that, I was like, shit, it could be something to revisit and try and repurpose slightly. And but yeah, so we got Hotel Story here. And then I might pull up some of the actual Hotel Story pages. So we'll update it. I know it's over 1,000 now. So we're doing good. Oh, taking forever.
So how long were you guys working on this, like development wise?
Yeah, good question. I was curious about that too, Jared. Like, when was the first I feel like the first email I sent you to like, let's actually do this. I think it was like 2 years ago, almost to the day. But is that wrong? Because
Um,
that feels like a
I
long
th-
time. But
I think it was like around two. It was like back in 2021. I think it was maybe around like March, like May, either May or June. Uh,
okay.
we talked like we were kind of talking about getting a script ready, like or yeah, collaborating on the script for Hotel Story, like because I think after what was it? Like because I'd also done like a couple test pieces for another thing um, after that, but we were still kind of weighing what our options were at the time. But yeah, the it was I think like I said, it was around May or something when we started talking about it, and then we decided that because at the time I also had another kind of a because I was doing some work with someone else just for like I've talked to you about like the yardage book work I was helping out with.
Yeah.
But so like I had
Yeah.
to like that kind of occupied my time until was it either June or July, and it was I think it was around like it was during that summer when we actually started to like sit down and actually start writing the script.
Okay. So it's a little bit more like 18 months, but some of that we weren't quite working on it super fast.
Right,
Um,
right,
yeah. Cool. Yeah. And it was like, it was a fun creative process. Like we ended up, we have pretty good creative chemistry together. Well, I was telling Jared, we're pretty good at iterating and like killing your babies kind of thing. Like neither of us have an ego per se. One I've noticed in general with collaborations, it is good because I paid Jared for a lot of the work on this kind of like in advance, and and because I'm paying him, I'm a little bit more like the boss in the situation, and then just having that relationship helps. Whereas sometimes I've done collaborations in the past where if it isn't like when I do with your boy Zach, he's the boss, but if it's like even, sometimes that messes with it a little bit. It's good to kind of have the roles, and within that, Jared still has like this. You know, his DNA is more all in this than mine even, but it's kind of I get to be, when I was trying to describe what my role was, I was kind of like a hands-on editor with like super like the super eye on the clarity kind of thing, the storytelling and clarity, more than a normal editor would be. But that was kind of my role, is like everything passing through me, just double checking the storytelling and with the layouts as we go, and just back and forth everything the whole way. I'm looking for someone in the chat said let's watch the trailer, so I do have it here. Yeah, let me find it. Hotel Story trailer. I think this. Here we go. Can you guys hear that? Oh, it's kind of
Yep.
yeah.
slow. Oh, I might. We'll let it play for a second. But everyone can watch it. I encourage people to watch it on your end too. And we can talk a little bit about this. I have to close some freaking.
Synthesize.
Sin.
You must be hamming it up for a big tip.
Sin. The size. 3
Woohoo!
simple syllables. They may not mean much to you now, but by the end of this night, they will.
There's a witch in this hotel. My mission is to stop her. Could mean certain doom for many if she completes her spell.
We're bringing that knowledge back with us to the real world, but we're giving it a special touch.
Don't suppose I know you.
Adrian,
You're a famous party pooper.
at your service.
Nice. That was like every frame of pause of the trailer without involuntary. But yeah, we learned a lot doing that, and we're gonna work on some other animation soon. We have some kind of written and some voices recorded, and yeah, we're gonna apply everything we learned because we were looking at it. We're like, we wanted it to be TV quality, and it's a little bit sketchy. The lines are too thick for some of the shots, just in hindsight. But we're like, so we got to, because for some reason TV always has pretty thin lines for the animation, and so we're like, okay, we're gonna make the lines thinner. We'll do just one extra step of due diligence on the cleanup, like one extra layer on top with the grease pencil, and then we'll be able to do it that way. So we're excited about that too. But that was something we could do with this project because of the workflow of the comic. We built the backgrounds in 3D, drawing the characters over the top. We use those
You
same
already had that for the trailer.
Yeah.
That's ingenious, dude.
Thanks. Yeah, and that ends up making like a style that I haven't seen too much of. I think people are kind of scared to do 2D mixed with 3D. Because they're like, oh, the background should be 2D also. And I've noticed, and I have confirmed this bias on YouTube that we're not the only ones to think this, but animation is like, it's very naturally a collage medium, and it looks cool if you mix styles in animation. Like I think it looks great. So, but the fact that you have the low poly 3D with the characters drawn over the top, that allowed us to do these subtle camera movements too. So it was a lot of fun on just the filmmaking aspect. And we like fantasize about like, oh, we should do a full movie, but we just can't yet. It's not the time, but we are going to try and make like a short film and see if it opens any doors and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes it does. Like, don't knock the short film stuff because, like, it's crazy just how well people like put together an adorable short and then they get a feature from it.
Yeah. Maromi, I'll wrench you soon. I'm sorry. I just closed the YouTube stream because it was slowing down stuff, I think. So I can't wrench anyone right now, but I'll wrench you soon. Yeah. Vaughn, what's up? How's it going?
Oh, it's going well, man. Congrats on the launch.
Yeah, thanks. And you're helping launch your buddies today too, right?
Yeah, I had no idea it was the same day. So it's gonna be a crazy day. I hop from PTPs to yours, and then mine after. But looking like you're doing well. You got 2K so far. Let's keep going. How many pages is this? 120?
Yeah, I think it's 128 if you like include the covers. So it's like a pretty thick book.
So then I have a question. Like, how many pages were you guys kind of working a week to kind of get there?
Yeah, so I'll answer, and then Jared, you can kind of answer too. But I think Jared can go really fast, but then we do a ton of iteration. So it ends up averaging, like 5 pages a week, maybe, or maybe a little less than that, like 3 or 4 pages a week, 12 to 16 a month. But like when we do this in our workflow too, another thing Jared can do is he can kind of crunch, and I'll do it too. So we'll do meetings where we plan the whole day and we'll work 16 hours or something, or a weekend. And then by the end, you're kind of burned out, but we planned like even this for the end, we planned it like it'll be done so we can burn out. So we kind of were sick of it, working on it like a week ago, but then it was done. So we've been relaxing the past few days. We've been just chilling.
So how much of it is done?
It's all done completely. We've sent it out to some people to read too. I sent it to Lit Dev, and so I think he's gonna read it and give a quote, or to help marketing at some point. And assuming he likes it. There's always that ethical issue. They got to legitimately like it, and if they do, they give the quote. Famously too, or like I don't know if it's famously, but we posted the trailer and Mark Millar retweeted it and said like,
I saw that.
Really? Nice.
Yeah. So
no, sorry, you go.
I was just gonna say, I don't think I can put his quote about the trailer on the back of the book. Because that's another kind of ethical thing. Like if it says Michael,
you could always message him or get in touch with somebody who can get in contact with him.
Yeah, I'm always.
He'd probably be down for it.
Yeah, well, he gave me a quote for Robozan, which was featured in the shorts, and and I did print it on the back of the book. But this one, it's kind of luck of the draw if he hits you back. I think it's partly because I think he might get kind of like Ethan, but he gets like 100 emails a day. So
yeah,
you have to have the good luck of emailing him right when he's looking at his computer, and then he sees it, and then he'll respond or whatever. So I've reached out to him though, so might hear back from him at some point. Reached out to a handful of people, but yeah, it is done. Jared, what would you say about the workflow and the time it takes? And talk just a little bit about the workflow in general too, like what you do to create a page.
Sure. Yeah, I think that sounds about right as far as it being about, working on about 5 pages per week. And usually with that, like that's usually going from what the thumbnail stage to even a rough kind of pencil stage, and then from there, once we met to go over the rough artwork to make sure everything was working out right, then to moving over to the line art phase, and
Actually, sorry, let me interrupt just real quick. Sorry to cut you off, but the whole workflow is using cameras in Blender to pick the camera angles. So Jared does the layouts without thinking of that, and it sends me these like rough 2D pages, which we can maybe look at some of those, and then we adjust it if need be. But then it goes to him. Then he pulls out the backgrounds in Blender, and one of the kind of fun things about that is it gives you the super consistency of the environment. So the environment of the hotel is very like consistent, which is kind of fun. And it helps the storytelling. And then within that, you're picking the camera angles. You can pick the angle of the lens, and that has its own little advantageous aspects for the storytelling. Like usually if you do a longer angle lens, that can give a little bit more of a POV kind of feel, like someone spying on someone through a telescope or whatever. Or it can, as far as the layouts, it will bring the background forward. It kind of makes the whole image more flat, as far as like you get a foreground, a midground, and a background. And that's actually how the traditional American superhero comics, they draw pretty much all flat, long angle perspective. Oh, maybe without even knowing it, because it's just like what they do, like Jim Lee back in the day. It's like foreground, midground, background. But then European and manga, they'll do the wide angle where you actually have like your 3-point perspective grid. And that is kind of a little bit of what it is like how far away your if it's a 2-point perspective, if they're really close together, then it represents a wide angle lens. And if they're really far apart, that represents a long angle. So it is, they don't even teach you this in high school when they teach you perspective, which annoyed me when I finally learned it, because I learned it when I was like...
Which they should. That always gets me. There's so much just in education, not even just in the arts, that they don't even go into.
Yeah. Hey, Abra's here. Abra, what's up?
Well, if we're talking,
Can you hear me?
I don't know if you guys can hear me, and I don't know how the reception is.
I can hear you.
I'm on a plane, so I just wanted to pop in and say hello and congratulations. It's great to see everybody.
Yeah, thanks.
Congrats, Narwhal.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Abra. Abra's going to Vegas.
Oh,
cool. Like for a convention
Well, I'm
or just
here now.
vacation?
I don't know if you guys can. Let me see if you guys can see. Can you see anything?
It's
No,
not
I don't
dark. Yeah. How was
Maybe
Vegas?
it
Did you
doesn't
win
like.
money?
No, I just landed. I'm waiting to pull up to the gate so we can get off the plane.
Nice. There was Skank Fest was in Vegas this week. You might catch the end of it.
That's hilarious.
Well, damn, I
What
hate
do
that I
you
missed
do
that.
there?
Skank Fest.
Yeah,
You skanky.
Go to Skank Fest. Yeah, I think that it's just a stand-up comedian thing.
Oh,
it's a
dude,
comedian
I
thing?
thought it was like, why?
I thought it was like,
Exactly why.
it's Vegas, like it wouldn't be a shock.
Yeah. Have you guys heard
Some
the joke
skanks.
that Norm Macdonald tells about Vegas? He's like, I finally realized what it means when they say that what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. He's like, what it means is that you can have sex with a prostitute and she won't tell your wife.
No, wow.
Yep. That is what it means.
Yeah.
Well, there was that one on Cecil was talking about the other day that ratted on a girl. Like they went out somewhere in Nashville, and they were having like a girls' bachelorette party, and I guess she did some naughty business, and the person ratted her out to her fiance.
Yeah.
Nice. That's just fair game, though. If you don't want to get caught, don't do that.
Did you
Yeah.
see the
Yeah,
girl on
exactly.
Twitter was like talking about how if it's your last free day before marriage. Like, well, if you're doing it in prison, then maybe don't get married.
Exactly. Stay single. You know, Leonardo DiCaprio is doing it. You could too.
I mean, is he a good model for relationships? Have you seen the meme that's like, no, haha, don't turn 26?
Yeah, dude, it's like on the tape.
Yeah.
It's great.
DiCaprio, I was saying this the other day, he's the most memed actor in history, and I kind of think that means he's the best actor. Like whoever is the most memed is therefore the best.
Nick Cage is way more meme than DiCaprio.
Okay, we'll have a
I
meme
would
off.
say it's about even though.
Yeah, like Nick Cage is up there, but I think
Will Smith nowadays.
Well, like, do you know the one of DiCaprio walking, like when he's like walking? Hold on, I gotta make my screen. You guys know this one, like when he's like,
yes,
I think so. Yeah,
like, that was so big for like 5 years, and now it's like him going like
the pointing, yeah.
Yeah, and there's a million of there's him going.
Everything from Great
Gatsby.
Gatsby.
Great reaction shots to him.
Oh, dude, there's so many.
The walking.
That film is so great.
Yeah.
And climbing to the vehicle.
I'm curious about his new movie where he plays. He's got jungle fever or whatever for the
jungle
fever. For the natives.
Oh, for the natives.
Yeah.
But yeah, what?
That's important.
Yeah. We went on a tangent there with DiCaprio and memes and stuff. Sorry, so Jared, I cut you off. You were talking a little bit about the workflow, and so it goes thumbnail and then drawing it. And what were you saying?
Yeah, like from thumbnails to a rough pencil to line work, and then we did like we kind of mixed up the order of when we did color and when we did lettering, because I know I wound up doing like a lot of the lettering like once we had a lot of the line work done, just because there's still some pages that still had some line work that we needed to get done, and there was like this was kind of in a period where like you were busy working on Earthbound, and like a lot of the stuff, like I don't know if it was Grand Prix or if it was it might have been even during a fulfillment phase when that was occupying your time getting that work done. But I think because I know like I got a lot of the lettering done in like a couple days for I think up to like page 100, not page 100, maybe up to page 80 or 90.
Yeah. By the way, that I remember you saying that, and I was like, damn, because it takes me. I feel like I kind of hate lettering because I end up anguishing over little lines of dialogue that I might want to tweak, and it'll end up taking me like a week to do 20 pages or something. But yeah, you did 80 in 2 days or something like that. So.
I do have a quick question. So you were saying with the 3D backgrounds and everything, do you think that helped speed up your process, or do you think it kind of added some time onto it?
I'm curious what Jared thinks. For me, I think because I've used that with Earthbound too on my own projects, and I think it's like about exactly the same. But then there are pros and cons too. But Jared, what do you think?
I think more or less what Narwhal said. There's kind of like there are advantages of like if you if you're using the 3D backgrounds, then like it's a lot like getting the right perspective, getting the right um, blocking of the stage like that. If it works out, then it can work out really well, and then just matching, and then it just comes to matching the artwork to the background. But sometimes there's like little like there's things with the 3D background, like if the like you might have a bit of a hard time getting the right camera angle, getting the right lighting, getting you know sometimes sometimes if you're really trying to fine tune how the shot looks, then it can be it can be kind of a pain sometimes. um at some point you do have to just like move forward with whatever you can get, and then getting the art, and then like the other half of it is getting the artwork to match the backgrounds correctly, like getting the perspective right and all that. And I know like really early in the beginning of this comic that um I did have to do it did take several attempts to get the characters right, get the perspective right. Like
Yeah,
kind of
there
like
was like a learning curve to it, kind of, and yeah.
That's
So
fascinating, dude.
yeah. Someone asked, is Narwhal do self inserts? This is the guy I was in real life. I was the front desk agent, and this story did happen to me. It was the guy yelling, like, "Sir, if you would just no, if you would just, I will be heard." That kind of thing happened to me. And the even the what the eventually the manager does, like, approach, and she says, like, go ahead and upgrade him to the king in the corner room, but that's already booked, we'll deal with it later. That's exactly what my manager did, because it's like kicking the can down the road. But at hotels,
Oh.
usually you do have, because you're trying to keep everyone happy, even assholes, which is like, just that's the way it works. It's unfortunately, because I was thinking, like, as I remember it back, I'm like, we should have just kicked that guy out, um but it was weird. Like, so she gave him the king, but it was someone else had booked it, and I'm like, well, they're gonna come and be mad
Ooh.
now. But
Yeah.
sure enough, like, as long as, like, there ended up being one king that never came, and so then it was fine. Like, it, so her it was a gamble, but it did work out, and that happens almost every night. There's like one or two people who book and don't show. So
Hmm.
so it is on every sold out night, even, which is interesting. Oh, and one thing they do too is they would keep on sold out nights. But I think on this night we didn't have it. You book a room under the name of the manager, so we just have one that can not be
Oh,
booked.
that
And that,
makes sense.
yeah, and that kind of gives you the buffer to deal with everything. But even on this one, it just worked up. Matt Downey says, "Where's the Napoleon quote? What is the good Napoleon quote for this? I don't know." He goes, my favorite Napoleon quote is, he goes, professionals discuss, he goes, amateurs discuss tactics, professionals discuss logistics. And I don't even know what that means, but it's like words to live by for sure. Napoleon knew what he was talking about. Um, yeah. So as far as, yeah, I've noticed with the pros and cons of doing the 3D style, um, it it's when it's all working on all cylinders, it's fun because it can be pretty immersive when you're reading it, kind of a unified style. And then it also kind of helps with the color schemes, like, the characters when they kind of fit the background. And you can do moodier backgrounds, which we do later in the comic. Once the spells start, there'll be like
Mhm.
a purple haze over the background, and then you can put a purple haze over the characters, and they sync in perfectly. And it
Oh,
has,
nice.
yeah, it kind of has a cool, kind of like uniform, kind of easy to get that color theory kind of feeling really good. um Guy in his room, we'll deal with this later. My approach to life. Yeah. Guy in his room, he had a question about the plot. Let's see if I can find it. He goes, the fact it's random guests who happen to be there is interesting, unless the sorceress lady made them go there. Yeah, it's all just random, and it's a few lucky people who kind of fall through the cracks, and then they have to kind of survive. We haven't even got to this yet, but it's very, not even loosely based. Like it takes direct inspiration from Demons 2, which I mentioned that to you, Crystal.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, and Demons 2 is like the whole plot is like it's an apartment complex with all these little mini plots going on. Like one lady's having a birthday party, someone else is like a husband and wife, or the wife's pregnant and they have a little tension. I think there's some people in the basement that are working out, and there's this funny, strong dude who's just like with a big mustache, and he's like telling everyone to do calisthenics or whatever. And then the shit hits the fan. The demons become unleashed and like crawl out of the TVs and start murdering people. And in the chaos, a ton of people die, but a handful of people survive. And then you're kind of following them, and they might be getting picked off. It's almost, the formula could almost be like a zombie movie. The way that goes is like you're just following the group. But with the addition of it being one location, kind of following multiple groups, and they may or may not meet up. They may or may not split up, and you're checking in with them. Some of them you're rooting for. There's a few that you can be rooting against because they can be such assholes that you kind of want them to die. And then what the story can do too is like make it so they don't die. And the audience is like, damn, just kill that guy already. And they're kind of getting teased,
Kind of like a slasher movie setup then.
Yeah. This is like a classic horror story kind of thing of like who's gonna live, who's gonna die, just running through. And as I was saying, even the zombie thing, like we have a device in this story where the first spell, it kind of is this possession spell, and most of the hotel ends up getting possessed, and then they're sort of like zombies at that point. So there's this aspect of like barricading your door, surviving in your room, a ton of people outside trying to bang through your door. There's like stuff like that going on. And yeah, by the way, we're 35 people watching. Thanks everyone for being here. We're over an hour. I was thinking we'd go 2 hours, but we could go any amount. We might go a little less, maybe a little more. But we're kind of just hanging out, launching the book. It's cool where the scene is at with that. I can launch a book on my channel now, and with just my mailing lists and stuff and my channel, we can have a really fun start to it. We're at a good amount of backers here, so let me see. We can try updating the page, and we can go over a few of the tiers. We haven't talked about the Obel yet. I want to talk about that too. Speaking of 3D versus 2D art or 3D backgrounds, the Obel is the bonus book. Jared drew that one completely and wrote it completely, so that's all him. But that's the bonus book. It is a good companion piece to Hotel Story. That one's 48 pages, perfect bound, black and white, another horror tale. But that one is more haunting, ghost-ish story, like Silent Hill 2 kind of thing. Here we go, 2,540 backers. So yeah, my goal in the back of my head, I'm like, I would love in 4 months, we're going to be open. And I tell myself too, like, because I've been doing this long enough, I know there's a weird like way the dopamine in your brain and everything. And like, you can really grind on the live streams, the promoting. And in the end, it might get you like an extra like $500 if you really look like back on everything. So I'm like, what I want to do is like, I just want to have it available, have everyone know that it's there, and I will be promoting it and going on streams and stuff, but I don't want to like stress and like feel like the tension of like, oh, is it enough? And so we're like, no, 4 months, this is going to be available, even though it's all done. Like, so it'll be opportunity for everyone to back it. I think everyone should, if you're a Narwhal fan, a Narwhal backer, you read any of my previous books and liked them, you should definitely get this one. It's like one of the highlights of my body of work so far, or like the highlight even. It's the funnest collaboration too. And yeah, Jared's great. But yeah, so it's just Jared, and the fact he did the Obel also, getting the double feature is highly recommended. So yeah, speaking of the Obel though, like, so that's the Obel, the bonus to get both of them. It's this black and white kind of let me show you the page. Here's the cover. So it's still Jared style, but it's kind of like interesting. It's like even more Jared style,
Wow, that's neat.
Yeah, still very cartoony, but I love the cartooning mixed with the haunting horror story is actually a really fun mix.
And the grainy background looks very nice too. They're kind of painterly.
Yeah, that kind of fits with the horror theme on this one too. And maybe I'll pull up a few of these pages to actually preview directly too. But definitely highly recommend everyone pick this up also. If you're going to back Hotel Story, you should get this one. Jared, do you want to talk? This one has kind of a fun origin story itself. Do you want to talk about some of that?
Sure, sure. So in the in spring of spring of this year, there was kind of this zine comic event in Iowa City. Like it takes place at the same time as this music festival. It happens at the end of it, kind of during the weekend. And I was trying to even like around 2020, like at the end of 2022, I was trying to come up with try to think of an idea that I wanted to do for that. Like to make because I had done something similar the year before where I had made a short comic to try and sell it that mainly because the year before I actually wound up getting a last minute table for that, so I was kind of I was given I was informed a month before the event last year that that there was a table available, so I wound up doing a couple things for that to have some new material ready. But yeah, for the one this year, I kind of did something similar too, where I was trying to come up with an idea. Nothing was really sticking. I even did a short script based off of based off of an old story, but it wasn't really working out well. So eventually it was about a month and a half before the event, and at that point I did kind of decide on a story I wanted to do. I wanted to do a sort of horror comic that takes place on a steamboat, and I wanted to have a little bit of a reference to Greek mythology, with the idea of Charon, Charon the ferryman, the ferryman on the river Styx, and the idea of Charon's obol, which from what I understand is kind of a burial rite for ancient Greeks, where they would place an obol, which is a really low value coin, super low value, essentially something kind of the equivalent of a penny, in our money system, but they would put it underneath the tongue of the deceased, so that when they arrived at the like at, once they arrived to the underworld, or not. No, actually, they would it's kind of on the shore of the river Styx. They would meet Karen, and they would pay the fee of the obol to Karen, so that they could gain passage to the river Styx. And then if they didn't have an obol, or if they didn't have any if they can't pay the fee, then I hear mixed things. I've heard they would either they would stay on the shore as a shade for the next 100 years or so, or I've also heard an alternative take where they're just on the shore for eternity. I think 100 years is probably the more accurate version, but that's essentially where the idea for this book came from.
Yeah. And you can see it's super cool. And then so he drew it all pretty fast in 2 weeks or a month. A 48-page comic he wrote and drew the entire thing. But before he had drawn it, he had the whole thing thumbed. So he didn't write a script. He actually just thumbed the whole thing, which I find that kind of fascinating, because that's not
cool.
Yeah, that's not how I work at all. And so it is kind of fun seeing that.
But then again, sometimes some of this stuff is just stuck in your head, and you just visualize it. And so then sometimes I can see where you're like, okay, I have the vision in my head, and you're just laying it out,
Yeah. So that's a little bit more what Jared, it was a lot of inspiration, and Jared will get a lot of inspiration from these deadlines. He's done it even with the comic jams in the past. and then yeah, these like conventions coming up. Actually, I think 2 years ago he did it again. He made an entire comic for that, and that was another cool one that was featured in the B sides. I put that in. It's called Key Girl Bug. That's another cool Jared work that's floating around out there. And yeah, what was I gonna say though? Sorry, got distracted. But yeah, this comic is cool. Oh, so he sent me the thumbnails. So it was a full 48-page version of the comic, but just thumbnails. But all the dialogue was written in by hand, and just that version. It's funny because this is like a sort of like an interactivity thing. Like it's almost more of me engaging with the comic because I can totally follow the story, but then I'm like imagining things in my head because it's all just scribbles kind of, but I can tell what it is. And that was like one of the funnest reading experiences I've ever had. I kind of want to recreate it as an experiment to be like, why is that so cool when it's actually like the thumbnail version, as long as it's clear and you can still tell what it is and all the dialogue's written there, then you can actually read it and have an even funner time because you're imagining even more with what is happening kind of. But I told him, I was like, oh, this is great, man. So then he's kept going, or he finished it, and then he had the version that he sold at the convention, and then we kind of remastered it and added some of these like patterns and stuff, and I think mostly just adding these like patterns is what we did. And this is kind of the remastered version that is going to be perfect bound, that is available with this campaign. And yeah, so you can see it's this cool style, but this is definitely like, if we're talking 3D versus 2D, you can see like 2D, it's fun because you can control everything. Like this is a very well designed panel that you could never do in 3D really, because 3D would show the whole room. But here it's like, no, we only need to see the bed and the mirror, and then the lighting is what creates the kind of the design aspect. Kind of same with this, it's like, it's more about some of this is almost like paper cutout style, kind of like UPA is another like influence from that, is like the UPA style kind of thing, like this, like very storytelling wise, it's perfect. And you sort of could do this in 3D, but it's funny, it would be a lot of work and it would be unrealistic. It would be expressionist if you did that in 3D within Blender, but you'd use a super long lens and super high contrast light, and then you could kind of get that. But yeah, we have this. I know one of the sort of influences, even when I was kind of pitching to Jared, we should add some of these textures, is to have the textures be flat so they're not in perspective. And I know a lot of I know specifically there's one animation where I saw that and I thought it looked so cool, but it's The Thief and the Cobbler. Do you guys know that movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I forget, that's a really famous animator, and I forget his name right now too. He did Who Framed Roger Rabbit and stuff too.
Richard Williams.
Yeah, Richard Williams. So that there's a little bit of like some kind of influence there. Yeah. So that if people are backing, I definitely suggest backing the combo tier to pick up both books. And then there is the third tier where you get the making of also. And we have kind of, this is like the cover. We might tweak it, but this is the cover for the making of. And it's going to be 64 pages, perfect bound, black and white. Ooh. So the oval is 48. This is 64. And we have like hundreds of emails, lots of development drawings. In fact, I might see if I can find a few of those to share too while we're hanging out here. But yeah, we got Jimmy Ray's in it. Jimmy Ray's, what's up, man? Thanks for popping in here. I don't know how much longer we're going to go. Otherwise, I might send you the link, Jimmy, but we might just go another half hour or so. But if you feel like popping in, I'm going to do that right now. But yeah.
The making of book is, because I'm considering doing that too. Hold on, let me put this. I was, because I'm collecting like all the notes and stuff. I was looking at character designs, printing them out and writing notes and keeping that. Like how 64 pages is what you're doing for that?
Yeah, well, yeah, because I did a few with your boy Zach that were 16 pages. We might add one that was even 24 pages, and it wasn't crazy to throw it all together. But it
Yeah.
is like you got to have a lot of content. But we have like we want to show some of the making of the animated trailer, and we want to show some of the writing process, some of the development art. We want to show some of the layouts, and then the layouts to the 3D to the characters, that whole process. And I'm like, that does take up page real estate. So, and then Jared did pitch me one idea is for the making of, there's a character in the story named Gary, and he's an alcoholic piece of shit. And he's like loosely based on the parts of me that I hate when I used to drink too much. But he's like oddly lovable, but also not. He like is literally a piece of shit, but you still he's kind of me and Jared. We like him for some reason, and I'm curious. I don't know how other people will react, but he could be almost like the Blowguard of Hotel Story. Only he's like more of a piece of shit. He's like not. And when I say piece of shit, it's not like he's like messing with people. It's like he's like a sad sack kind of. He's like the ultimate sad sack. And
really roasting this character, man.
Yeah. So Jared's like, I want to do a short story just of all his backstory of how he was raised and stuff. I'm like, dude, let's do it. The Gary lore. So we're definitely gonna fit some Gary lore in there. Yeah. Sorry, I have a couple things to do clicking around. So, and then I'll check in with the chat. But we'll go another half hour or so, I think. But we're getting to say everything I wanted to say, and I really appreciate you guys being here. Crystal and Vaughn, thanks for hanging out. Yeah.
No problem.
Not drift off you. No, I'm kidding. No, I didn't.
Yeah. No.
No, I'm fucking with you. No, it is. It's great. See, also that you have the behind the scenes stuff. These are great deals too, man. Like these prices are fucking good.
Yeah, for how long it is? Because I was worried if I raised it from 25. Normally, I might charge this to 27, and I was like, kind of because of inflation, basically, and printing and shipping is up, But yeah, like I don't know, like normally, kind of in the scene, a 64-page book goes for 25. So we're doing double that for 27. So it is like a good deal.
I'm dreading because I keep thinking of the pricing process because I know you have to think of shipping and fulfillment and all this shit. And I'm like, because I think we all are in agreement. We'd love to charge as little as possible for our books, right? But it's like, dude, you're looking at those numbers.
The indie, creator, it's tough. And you still have production, and you might not have deals like some of the big guys do.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
there's so much that goes into it.
Yeah, and that even gets into a lot of people have been talking about your boy Zach's video from a few days ago.
What was that?
It was called "Get a Job," I think. And he was kind of saying like, yeah, comics are not in a position right now to support a full income, and even like in the best years of Comicsgate, I might have after taxes, I might have made had a few years where I was made like 50K or something, and I was reinvesting almost all of that back into comics for like 2 years in a row. But he goes in that he's like, yeah, you might be making 50 to 70K, which is not that much, by the way. You still should get a job. I'm like, oh damn. Still,
yeah, it's the reality. It sucks, man. It's not, but it's reality. What can you do?
Yeah.
I think we'd all love to do this full time. You kidding? Which is why we need to stop denying that comics that comics aren't doing well. Like, we got to end that whole thing.
Yeah. Jared, you might be better at finding the Hotel Story early sketches that you uploaded to the drive. I closed the window and can't remember how to pull it back up. Is it in the Dropbox? I think it is.
Yeah, there should be a Dropbox folder called Making of Hotel Story.
Okay, let me see if I can find this. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to do a couple things at once here. This is the way it goes. Chat, again, thanks for being here. It's always fun launching a book. It always is like you get the massive dopamine. And that's you got to watch out the next day. Jared, I'll warn you right now because you kind of get high seeing the numbers go up. You're like, oh, this is so great. And then the next day they inevitably slow down because people who really wanted to back it, and then people who over time will back it, but it's not like the rush anymore. And then sometimes people are like, oh, why am I so sad? And you're like, just knowing why even is half the battle, though. Then you're not like confused, raging like a teenager, like hormones, what's wrong?
Right.
Yeah, that's my tradition is on the second day of any launch, I run out into town and get in a bunch of fights because my hormones are raging. Just kidding.
Why?
Yeah. What's the folder called, Jared?
It's called Making of Hotel Story.
Yeah. Oh, cool. I found it. Cool. And then there's layouts. I see. Is it in the layouts folder or there's a couple, I guess, but.
So I guess like what specifically are you looking for? Are you looking for layouts or are you looking for like early concept drawings?
The early concepts. But this is actually in the layout, but dang it, it's not really letting me zoom in, I don't think. Is there a zoom thing? Oh, here we go. Yeah, so we call this guy Big Guy. This is another thing that's kind of funny. Through the script in the early drafts, and I'd forgotten this, but in the emails, we start the script and we didn't name anyone. So like one of the main characters, he's called the Accelerationist, and that informed his character. Like he was like kind of this like slightly shady guy that you're not sure if he's a good guy or a bad guy. And then we eventually named him, and we named him Bruno. And everyone got names, but this guy was named Big Guy, and I don't know if this guy ended up getting names because he just always has been Big Guy. He's like a secondary character, but I think he went through multiple designs, and then we found this design, and then this is more of a character sheet because this is all kind of the same design, but this design is like one of my favorites in the comic. Of what Big Guy ended up turning out to be. And yeah, I wonder if I go back. It's being a little slow. I'm gonna see what else I can find to share with you guys, some old art. Oh yeah. Well, and then this is like an example of, I think this layout might have been me. I'm not sure, but I did some layouts here and there. But this is some of the stuff. This is the top floor layout, some maps of the hotel, because we did design the whole hotel too, to make sure the plot kind of we don't like, it's not a plot point that we feature in the hotel, like bragging about that everything lines up or whatever, all the spatial storytelling works, but it does. We just kind of made sure behind the scenes that it does work. Yeah, here's like, you can just see it's like so scribbly, but then this is the first phase, and then it ends up becoming a full comic after that. So some of these will be in the making of thing. And then there's maybe one other file I want to try and share here. Emails. Yeah, nice. Here we got some cool. What about? That's some like high kind of character design stuff. There's a loose map of the hotel, a loose map of some of the climactic stuff. The early color scheme for Salome, it was so like not ready. So that's like one of the things we keep messing with. Like she was zombie style at first, but we ended up making her just more kind of like natural looking, and it worked way better. Minimize. Yeah, here's an example where Jared had done the layout, then he pulls the backgrounds out in Blender, and then he draws the characters over the top. So the layout becomes the guide for which backgrounds to pull, and then you draw the characters. And sometimes he would draw the characters first and then draw the background. So he could do it either way. By the way, Jimmy Reyes, what's up, man?
Hey, thanks for the invite.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for being here.
Oh man, I love your books, and I love like the way they're just so creative. You know, they're so different, and they like bring a fresh breath of air to the industry. And I
Thank
mean,
you.
it's no secret. Like I don't really care for superhero characters, and that's what I like. I love that you're like filling that hole, and the industry, and so is Vaughn. Like Vaughn's book looks great too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Crystal too. Don't forget.
Oh,
Crystal.
I didn't know.
Like,
That's right. You got the medieval book too as well. You got a fantasy
yeah,
book.
dude. I
Yeah.
love sword and sorcery, so I'm ready
Wow.
to to fully dive in.
Yeah, that's what I love. I mean, I think the whole sword and sorcery, the whole fantasy genre.
Well, there's so much because you have like dragons, you have like centaurs, you have like all this stuff you can play with. It's crazy.
And if we can cross over, the tabletop gaming industry and bring them into, getting them into like our fantasy comic books, I mean, that's a $1 billion industry. That's a huge
Oh, yeah.
market that, it really isn't being tapped into.
And
Yeah.
it's so sad the state that just like some of the companies like D&D is in. It's like you have clerics in wheelchairs and all
Elves who are
sorts
no
of
longer
nutty
half
stuff,
elves.
dude.
Yeah.
Accessible dungeons.
Yeah,
It's just
Yeah.
you think you're making this stuff up, but it's not.
Yeah. I mean, they can't fight with
real.
battle axes anymore. Now they fight each other with compliments,
You know? So sad.
that's funny. Yeah. Here we got, this is a good process shot too, because you can see the blue is the thumbnail that got blown up. Then they pull the back. Jared pulls the backgrounds out. Then this is like the pencil layer that will eventually get cleaned up with inks. And like there's some other. This is like an early version too, because this is Emir, who's kind of the second to Salome, and they got a kind of relationship kind of thing going on. But his design changed, kind of like how if you look at the early designs of Snoopy, and if Charles Schultz drew him 100 times, then his design kind of changed, and it kind of gets better the more you draw him. So Emir was one of the characters that about halfway through the book, he had changed a little bit, and he was looking really great. So I was like, all right, it's a little more work, but we do have to go back and redraw Emir on every single page he's on because he looks so good now.
Well, the same thing happened to Matt Groening with, Homer Simpson, Bart Simpson, Walt Disney when he did Mickey Mouse. I mean, like they go through an evolution. It's because you're creating a new character and you don't exactly know their personality yet. So you don't have the language down, their body language. You don't have all the facial features. And as you get to know them more, you're more familiar with them. They evolve,
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's it's a good process. I mean, that's impressive that he's going through that so quickly. It usually takes years to reach
Yeah.
that point.
Yeah, and Jared, because another way that we've collaborated in the past few years is he's helped me a lot with coloring, and he colored Cerberus. I don't know if people know that. So Jared is the colorist on Cerberus,
Oh.
and he helped a lot. So he's pretty much the colorist on Earthbound Grand Prix. So yeah, but coloring Cerberus, that was another one where he just got so good so fast, and it's kind of impressive. It's fun to see someone on that learning curve of just jumping in. And
I love with the coloring in Cerberus. I was actually giving you all the credit. I was going, oh my God, Narwhal is so talented. I mean, and you are, but he has like those rim lights on there. He's got some dodge, adding in some like more like highlights. I mean, his colors are vibrant. They're beautiful in that book.
yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, and what you were saying earlier that there's like a pocket of indie comics where we're kind of making the alternative to the superhero stuff, and and it's fun. Like I was thinking even like, we think very nostalgically about like the 80s, and the 80s were kind of good for everything. Like superheroes were good, but indies were obviously really great. And I think the 80s was an era where like any like the more you push the envelope, the better as far as like style and writing.
Mhm.
The more weird, the better. It wasn't like people being like, "Oh, it doesn't look like my favorite superhero." It doesn't. Yeah, like
Yeah. It,
so I don't like it or whatever. But
yeah,
yeah,
it created innovation. You know, there was a need at the time. I mean, because people, you know, were like us. Like they didn't like superhero. They wanted to create something different. They didn't want to work for, you know, the machine, and they created their own things. And Ninja Turtle was born from that. Men in Black was born from that. The Crow. I mean, just incredible, really great titles. You know, came from that.
Darkness.
Yeah, Cerebus. I mean, just tons of different stuff, and Bone and all that stuff just came out from there. It was just, it was really good indie stuff, and that's the scene I came from. That's the stuff that I was reading.
yeah. Yeah, and so this what's up on screen now, this will be in the making of book, but this is an example of my like what my level of editing kind of being a lot, you know. But I don't just even here it's funny, I'm like, give him a mouth, so I do that. And then like this panel upon like reflection, me and Jared would do this together, but we'll be like,
Yeah.
it's not quite working here. So then this one, this would be a rare. It's not didn't happen every time, but it's a case where I'm like, oh, sorry, Jared, but we got to delete this whole panel, go back to the drawing board, and put a new panel in because it tells the story better. And I can see actually, I would probably put this to in the making of book to make sure people know what they're even looking at. But these two heads, this is people popping their heads out to check in and talk from the other room. So like that's like a cartoony kind of gesture, you know, like that's like a very cartoony gesture to have to people like poke their head around the
Yeah,
corner.
you just peek your head in. It's also a very sitcom, you know, like you just, you know, very like Friends, you know, or something.
Yeah, yeah, it's like that, and that's kind of that's an energy that Jared's cartoony brings to it. That every chance we got, I was like, we want to lean into that more, not less. Like every chance, and I know there's some other examples where like characters get surprised, and Jared draws them, kind of like how you know how manga characters can get chibi if they get goofy or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you kind of don't bat an eye. But yeah, Jared started drawing people who are like startled. They start getting real like it's kind of like some of the German expressionists. They're like, whoa, and their like face kind of warps and stuff. Dude, I do.
Jared,
get
I'm
kicked
so
out of
sorry.
it.
We're talking about you. You're like you're not even here. I just realized Jared's sitting right there below.
Yeah, I know. I'm
you.
trying to think how I can if I can ask him a question to bring him back into it. I'm still talking about him like no. I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
me too. You guys remember Jared? Remember that artist? Oh, may he rest in peace, guys. Moment of silence for
There
for
was
that guy. He had such
there's
talent.
there's some sorry. There was something on Twitter that was trending for like a second. It was like hashtag by Jared, and I think it was sports related.
That's funny. Someone else in the comments earlier, they're like 10% to the big guy because we were showing the big guy concept
Oh.
art. Like that's a Biden quote or whatever from the leaked emails, and that's funny. But yeah, yeah. So we're kind of getting towards possibly wrapping up. We've gone over most of the stuff. I really want this stream to be a little bit of a definitive like introduction to Jared. So I want to make sure we get you a chance to talk a little bit more, but I'm trying to think what else. Is there anything else like you want to say about sorry for a broad question, but about like the process of the book or anything we haven't covered yet?
Well, I do have a question for you, Jared.
Sure.
And it goes along with what Norl was talking about. But what the editing he just showed, the red pen. I mean, how do you feel about seeing a red marking over your artwork?
I mean, I've worked with Narwhal for I mean I've worked with them for like a number of years, so I've kind of got like I've definitely like and you know the fact that he's put out so much work and it's all quality work, so I do like I definitely trust his input on a lot of stuff. So I mean, whenever I see notes from him, like I always see where he's coming from with the notes, and I usually don't have too much objection with any of the notes that he gives.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about your boy Zach. Like he'll give me some notes, and sometimes they'll be like from on high, like an order, and I have to go through my head and be like, honestly, it's fine. Like I don't mind. And I think with me and Jared working together too, like it does flow both ways. Where like he will give suggestions, and I'll immediately be like, yeah, that's great, let's do it. And so I think as long as I'm kind of possibly speaking for you, Jared, but I think as long as we both can like feel totally like heard or whatever, as cheesy as that sounds, that's part of, because we have been working together for a couple of years now, and it does seem to be a good working relationship.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have created a team, and you've got your process that you guys seem to work well together, and it's good that Jared. I mean, that you're doing that, because anywhere you go, if it's the mainstream, anywhere you work for somebody in the independents or wherever, I mean, you really have to be a team player. You have to be open to criticism and feedback, and even regardless of however we feel. Like I remember there were times where I remember Dave Finch and I were doing Power Rangers, and it's owned by it was like I forgot the company that owned it. I want to say Bandai, but that's not right. I forgot the name of the company that owned it. But on top of that, they also were getting it published through IDW. So we had to deal with the IDW editors, and we had to deal with whoever owned the license. That were so he would do art, finish it, and then I'd ink it. We send it off, and then the editor wouldn't say anything. But then it got to the person that owned the licensing, and they go, "Oh no, you got to change this, change that." So, and it just kept happening. I mean, they would come back with like, change this little thing. I go back, change it. We send it back.
And there's something new.
And then there was something new. And I'm like, why can't you guys just hold on to it for a few moments longer, show everybody? But I had to keep my feelings to myself, because I had to be, I'm professional, right? And so, I mean, I'm getting paid, and that's what I'm getting paid to do. So, it's good, even if you kind of feel like, whatever is your feeling, you just keep it aside and do the work and send it out, and it's not like you guys have a really good, I'm losing the word in my head here, but like you guys seem to have a really good, like, almost like a kinetic kind of energy going, it seems like.
Yeah, I kind of agree. And yeah, I did find these, it's weird if I zoom in, then I can't like change to the next one, but there's one, like this was the early designs for Salome, and I think I can show you guys. I might be able to find where she did evolve, because this is all really cool, like great stuff. But there was one page that's a lot of fun, because it's like a bunch of different witch drawings, and then one of them's kind of circled, and that's her, and it like happened, and wow. Jared had just kind of like of his possibilities, he had drawn like her, and she became the most one of the most iconic characters of the story.
And I'll tell you right now, like, I mean, I don't know you, Jared, but, and this isn't like, this is just sharing advice. I mean, not that you asked, but see, I've been in the industry, in the mainstream, and this is no different. So like, I bugs me when people say you're not a pro until you work for the big two. And it's like, nah, man, no, the second you get published, no matter where it is, indie, you're doing exactly what you'll be doing in the mainstream, and I'm impressed, man, how professional you guys are. Obviously Narwhal's professional, he's been doing this a long time, but
thanks. Here's one so this is Gary, who I've already talked about. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 drawings of Gary, and we're kind of looking at him. We see this guy. We're like, that's him. That's Gary.
No way. That's awesome.
Perfect.
And it's like the most ridiculous guy, but that's the sad sack, And Jared kind of invented like his eyes. I think they're like the watery cat eyes from the meme of the watery cat. I don't know, but he's like, his eyes are always drawn that way. He's always drunk, and he's always super pathetic. And and yeah.
Oh, and I should clarify, this is why CG books are way better than the mainstream, is because mainstream's not doing this anymore. They're not putting this kind of time and collaboration into their books anymore, obviously. And I mean, this is why, look at the work you guys put into this and the time.
Yeah, like here's a character turnaround of Connie after we got her character design fully down. Wow. And this was another one where we had to redraw her from the early pages, but she's another one I'm super happy with. And she's a great character in the story, a lot of fun. And we kind of feel that way about all the characters. They all were created from the ground up to have the design match the way they talk, match the way their personality, all those things line up. Which that's actually the first project I've done where that truly happens. And I think you do notice it, like, because Earthbound, like, it's like very stylized and fun, and it's good story and everything, but everyone kind of talks the same. They just kind of talk like my style. And like Reservoir Dogs is like that actually. Everyone just talks like Quentin Tarantino, and it's still badass. You have the different actors delivering it slightly differently, so you can still distinguish, and they look different. But even Tarantino later in his career, he did start writing everyone's totally different, and they do all talk differently. And this is one where everyone speaks differently. You can tell who they are just by how they talk and what they say and stuff.
So I mean, I know I came in late. What about and maybe the viewers that came in late? Can we go over what the story is? What the hotel story is about?
Yeah. So one thing is it's a very minimalist story. Like as far I say minimalist cinematic as far as like the story is, you can say it in one sentence, but it's the witch Salome. She casts a mass sacrifice spell from the top floor suite of the hotel at 7 o'clock that night. And then the spell completes upon the mass sacrifice at midnight. So there's a 5 hour period. That's the story. So like it's 300 pages tracking 5 hours. And then it's just what happens. It's characters, a few slip through the cracks of the initial possession phase, and then they're just trying to survive against these like hordes.
Damn, that is so good. That is so good, and it's
Very good, man.
it's so easy to follow. You know what I mean? The concept, but it's so good. Like some of my favorite anime is like High Rise, you know, the Invasion. You
That
know,
one was wild.
right? Yeah, and I love that, and it all takes place like and
Anyone
so.
else has seen that?
No, yeah, and so this is such a great concept, man. I mean,
Thank you.
this is awesome.
When are we getting season 2 of that, by the way? Is that ever happening?
Ah, man, with Netflix, you never know. I mean, hey.
Anyway, sorry, what was that?
Yeah. Here's one interesting part of due diligence we did too. Hai was one of the hardest characters to draw. And so we ended up doing a little of just almost like as a, like practice. And we kind of both did this, but we made a 3D like guide, did a turnaround with the 3D guide, and then drew the lines over the top.
Oh, wow.
To kind of find his facial kind of shape and everything. So all that's going to be in the making of it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to give commentary. But I think probably the funnest part for me, I thinking of the making of, is the email exchanges, because it literally is like hundreds of emails of us building the story from the ground up, just in emails pretty much, and so that's kind of a lot of fun.
Oh.
Yeah, and then all these drafts coming back and forth. There is a lot of content. There's Ingrid, same thing, like cool turnaround. The manager.
Ooh, there's a lot of red pen on that one there, Jared.
Yeah, that was one page that might have got fully redone because it was an early page. Here's some of the 3D, figuring that out.
Dude, I'm so excited to do my behind the scenes stuff too. I mean, that's going to be so. That's this book. I can't imagine how many behind the scenes notes. Is that like a whole filtering process you have to go through?
Yeah, we got everything, and then we're going to figure out best way to organize it, give it some commentary, throw it together. But then we might have to cut some stuff, but it is like, 64 pages is a lot of real estate, so we'll just kind of plug it all in.
Yeah.
Lieutenant Hughes, did I miss the stream? We're going a few more minutes, Lieutenant Hughes. Yeah, so we're wrapping up here, but thanks for making it. Lieutenant Hughes, I'm pretty sure that's on Twitter. He's the awesome promoter guy, Lucius Morningstar or whatever, I think.
Oh, that's cool.
He has 2 different names, yeah. So thanks for being here. We'll do one last maybe update. Let me see where we're at on the.
Where's your campaign on? Is it on Fund My Comic or Indiegogo?
This one's on Indiegogo. I'm doing Fund My Comic. All the Earthbounds are Fund My Comic exclusive, but this one I was just still a little gun shy, so I'm like, we'll do this one Indiegogo, and we'll probably do a second chance on Fund My Comic for this one. But Earthbound, it's flipped. Earthbound gets the exclusive launch on Fund My Comic, and there'll be one of those launching like early next year, I think. The next part of Earthbound, because Earthbound's fulfilling right now. Like literally, people are getting their packages. I finished fulfilling it a few days ago and shipped out the last. So then, of course, as soon as that happens, then we launch Hotel Story. So keeping it rolling like super fast is always
I mean,
do it.
you got a
Keep the
momentum going.
going.
Yeah.
Pinch
Cool.
poke.
So 3,000 in one day or in one opening stream is amazing. So thank you everyone for being here and doing that and backing and checking it out.
Of
Yeah.
course, man. It's my pleasure.
I love how all your books always have identity to them, even
Mhm.
even in the graphic design. Like, look at your Hotel Story logo. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It doesn't match anything else. Like, it has its own identity. Like, it's
Yeah. And Jared did that.
whoa,
He's
really?
great among his many talents. Like, yeah, because he can do pixel art, he can do graphic design, font stuff. He knows all the vocabulary for font too.
Wow,
Sorry,
like
Jared, I'm still just
typography and
talking
yeah,
for
poor
you.
Jared, man. Jared, tell us about your. Did you study graphic design or?
I mean, I can't say that I'm, or I mean, I've done a little bit of stuff involving graphic design. It's not necessarily like a big focus of mine, but I guess it's more of a working knowledge of some of the things related to it.
More of a
Yeah,
natural eye, like for design, and like something you could pick
yeah,
up, just picked up fairly easily, or
Um, I I wouldn't necessarily say easy. I guess like just over the course of the years, like as it's like whenever there's whenever whenever a decision wh- whenever something comes up, like um k- kind of doing some research on my end as far as like kind of what kind of design principles work for something. It
yeah,
more self taught.
Right.
yeah. Like, yeah, because the experience builds up over the years. Like the
Yeah,
oval, this is great design too. And that's
yeah.
something that I noticed with Jared is if I'll have him, I'll be like, you handle this, and he turns something in. It always is better than what I picture in my head because it's always different. So he does
Wow,
have that, like, I don't know if it's an artistic gene or whatever, but everything he does tends to
autistic
be,
gene. All right, let's help him
yeah,
out.
it tends to be distinct from like other stuff out there.
Yeah. No, I mean you could that typography on that title that you just had right up on there. I mean, going vertical, that's creative.
Yeah, yeah. It turned out good. Cool. One thing I want to do before we wrap up too, I do want to give shout outs to your guys' books. But I don't have the links. Are you guys comfortable screen sharing, and we'll just throw them up and talk about them real quick? Yeah, let's do that, and then we'll kind of get out of here. It'll be about a little over 2 hour stream, I think. And I'll probably stream again tonight. It might be a little more chill stream, but I'll probably stream sooner or later with Ethan, I'm sure too. Maybe today even. So we're definitely having a great launch here. So thanks everyone. It is exceeding my expectations.
Did you say tonight's gonna be more of a chill stream than this? I mean, everyone's gonna show up in pajamas, or how much
Yeah,
chill
yeah.
can we get? You know?
I know. Yeah, I was thinking chill stream means me doing chess puzzles online
Oh.
while people just watch.
That's awesome. It's almost like an OnlyFans kind of
Oh no,
stream.
Yeah, yeah.
not that chill, dude. No.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jason Smith.
Yeah, let's not get too relaxed. You know what I mean? Keep the pants on.
Yeah. Calm down, Jared. God, you're so hyper. You know,
Jesus.
he's
Right.
party animal.
Oh man.
Yeah. Chat, let me know if you guys have any questions or anything too. I'm kind of keeping a little bit track. I definitely appreciate everyone being here. Yeah, sweet. And then does anyone want to screen share their
Oh
book?
yeah. I
on?
think we all just assume someone else's screen share.
I know.
Yeah. I'll do it first.
Yeah.
All right, so this is my comic book, Living Legends. So it's set 20 years after World War III, and this teenage boy is struck by lightning while holding this mysterious crystal. It will be colored, but he gets electricity superpowers, which include he could generate and shoot out electricity, and he also has super speed. And so it's going to be basically he gets these powers and he tries to strike out on his own and become a superhero, but finds himself fighting a villain that's just way out of his league. at a nuclear power plant. So if that sounds interesting to you, definitely back it. It's going to evolve into a team book. He is going to join a team of other teenage superheroes, and he's going to be trained by one of the veteran heroes from World War III. But that's going to come down the line. But for issue 1, I really wanted to just tell a tight, focused origin story that's 64 pages. I really wanted to make sure I took my time, because what's the point of having an interesting world if there's no one to explore it with? So if you do that, you also will get a free trading card, which the art will be shown soon. Hopefully, well, whenever it's done, it'll be shown. But yeah, definitely check that out, guys. I guess someone will post the link or whatever.
Yeah, if we have any mods, post the link, pretty please, and sign up for Vaughn's. It looks great. We're all looking forward to it. Vaughn's like big debut, but you said you might have a debut already, right? You have a short story.
Yeah, I didn't want to. Yeah, I could pull that up too. So it's going to be, and I'll talk about it more. I have my first ever published work is going to be in the back of this trade paperback. You can see a Sienkiewicz cover, David Mack cover, and Chris Bacalo cover. So if you look here, all the way down here, I basically made a list of everything you're not allowed to do right now, and then was like, let's make that a comic. So they got a hot blonde chick with with a gun, as he loves America. So it's set in a futuristic West, where she basically is in this high-tech truck, and she gets ambushed by this gang, and she has to fight her way out. It's 10 pages. It's the opening scene of what I hope to eventually turn into an ongoing comic book, or even a mini series. So depending on how much love this gets, I will also publish this too. So definitely check that out.
That's cool.
Yeah, I love Westerns, man. I think they're awesome.
Yeah, might be a collector's item if I get a big name.
Vaughn, who's your mom? Is it Martha Stewart? I mean, look at that decorating behind you.
Yeah.
Is my mom Martha Stewart? She's not.
Wow. I mean, man, I love the way that house looks behind you.
All right, I'll tell her that. I'll say, hey, this guy Jimmy Reyes like your
wants design tips from you.
Yeah.
Golly.
Nice.
Everything's fancy. Even that cup of glass of water was fancy.
This is just glass.
It's crystal. It looks like crystal glass, shiny. Look how fancy. It's got little bumps in it. Oh my God. Wow. Man.
Do you ever drink water really disgustingly, Vaughn, where you just go
straight from the water hose? You ever done it from the water hose outside?
Disgustingly. How do you like?
It's where you like drool after you finish it because you're so thirsty. So you're just like it spills out.
I guess I don't know. I kind of just drink water. I don't really.
Well, look at my fancy. Water? Here's my fancy china right here for you. Look at this. I don't mean to go big dog right here and show you guys. I'm balling right here. Look at that.
Yeah, that makes me think beer's in there and you're throwing ping pong balls around.
Yeah, and it's not even a Dixie. It's an off-brand.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
Nice. Oh, Dragon Rage. Yeah, so Dragon Rage is a story about a race of humans called the Dragari. They have the ability to capture the rage, take the rage from a dragon, so they have to kill the dragon to take its rage, or have the dragon give it voluntarily if the dragon wants to then die, And so they can take and wield powers of dragons. And it's written by a writer named David Philpott. The guy's just fantastic. He's really big into fantasy. So, I mean, it's going to be a great book. And it's got covers by David Finch. And if I have control here. Sorry. I'm waiting for you to do it. So here's Dave Finch. Did some covers.
Nice.
This is Dave Finch right here, bareback. Dave Finch art. There's no inks, no colors. You get it straight Dave Finch right there. Here's some cool little cheesecake like the Lawless, like you were saying, like doing things mainstream just not doing anymore. Look at these sexy knees. Can I draw knees or what? Look at that.
Oh, yeah.
Knee
anatomy. Nice job.
I never thought of knees as sexy, but, I guess there's...
Yeah. Good knees, good feet.
Yeah, that's like what era you are of purity or whatever is like how far up the leg is sexy.
Yeah.
Down the leg.
Ankles. Yeah. Jimmy's like looking
ankles.
At yeah, look at those ankles. So nice.
No, man. Look at this. Look at more knees, but Dave Finch drew this one. It's another Dave Finch cover. I've gone back and I'm redrawing all the interior because I've gotten a lot better. So this is early interior work, but I'm going to let you guys know now. If you think this is great, you're going to be blown away by the new stuff that I'm drawing because this is old.
I have noticed that. I didn't know. So yeah, it's crazy that you have had a little bit of this process where you jump in and you are redrawing a lot of pages. Is that true?
I redrew a whole comic. You
Okay.
know, yeah,
Yeah.
I started
Yeah, because the
over.
new pages look amazing. The new pages are like
Thanks.
they're on the Dave Finch level. And
Oh,
yeah,
thank
so
you.
I think it's pretty exciting. Yeah, I noticed it and I was like, can we say that out loud? Because it's almost if I'm like, dude, you've improved so much, that could almost be construed as a
Like an
negative
insult.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
mean, I think, I mean, I'm not sensitive about my work anymore since yesterday, but
yeah.
I, no, but I think I would have at one point. I sometimes would have gone, ooh, what did they mean? How bad was I? But now that I look at my work and I'm aware of like I can see the mistakes. That just means I've grown.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When others could see it, I couldn't see it. That meant I hadn't grown yet. But when I could see my own mistakes, I was able to work and improve on them.
Yeah, and even like because it might go from like, oh yeah, this is like pretty sweet, nice job, this is awesome, to being like, oh damn, like this is like some of the best shit I've ever seen. Like it's a difference, you know. So I think it's gonna people are gonna notice that and see the response too. I know even in my case, I was thinking I haven't officially backed this yet, but I've been meaning to. I 100% am gonna back it
Wow,
because of
thank
the
you.
art.
I'm going to
Yeah.
be closing out in October,
Okay.
and then
So
I'm
pretty
gonna.
soon.
So yeah, pretty soon. So not to give you FOMO or I'm trying to give you FOMO Narwhal.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, I got it so bad. I'm
clock's
backing it
ticking.
ASAP. Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it isn't gonna be up for too much longer, and then I'm going to shut it down and go into production and get the book out to people.
Yeah. You know what else that you've like come into your own on too is like the mic skills. You're like one of my favorite orators too.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you. I didn't know how to take it either because the chat started to tell me recently. They would comment that Jimmy's the most improved streamer, and
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh my god! But I think it's because I was nervous. I mean, hanging out with like Ethan, and I get to be out there. I mean, Del Keown's there. I mean, guys that I've admired. I mean, I admire their work, and I was just like trying not to fanboy out, and be
And you were
nerdy.
dying too.
And I was, and they're like, it's like I jumped in a pool with sharks, man, and these guys will eat you up quick, and they smelled the blood and the fear, and so
Yeah.
they give me a hard time, but it really helped me, for one, get thicker skin. The pace that they go at helped me to be a little more wittier and quicker. So I think that's how I improved the streaming and the mic skills, being there, and people might look at it as being really harsh and everything, but I think I benefited from it.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
I'm still yet to be promoted by Ethan. Ethan still is not pushing Dragon Race like he does everybody else, but I think it's because I'm new and he wants to make sure I'm gonna like stick around, fulfill and stuff like that.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I mean, he's had so
And
many
yeah,
people. Yeah.
well, yeah, and it's just nice the way the community works that isn't like the most important thing even. So yeah, like what you're doing, you're doing it perfectly of like getting out there and on other streams and um I think Ethan appreciates that too. Like then he's not
Yeah.
like the one guy
Yeah.
that
I've never said anything negative about CG or anyone in CG or anything. I mean, I don't go around doing that, attacking CG and trying to break down the movement that I'm a part of, because that isn't how it works. And I think the what also helped me too is just the love I got from the fans in the chat, the support.
Hmm.
yeah.
That was what made me stick around.
Yeah. Crystal, do you want to screen share your campaign?
Yeah. Let me get it up here real quick.
Matt Downey says I've improved my oral skill.
Oh
So
no, that
Yeah.
could be a good thing for him. Oh no. Oh dear. But the Good Night. The Good Night is a pretty cool black and white sword and sorcery comic. It is magazine size, so if you've ever picked up a magazine, something like Heavy Metal, stuff like that, it's a little bit larger to show off some of the art. And it is done, it's kind of like a fusion of traditional and digital. My artist starts out on canvas, and then we kind of go in Photoshop and kind of manipulate some stuff, fix it up a little bit. But it basically follows a night of King Arthur's court who gets turned into an adorable fuzzy little teddy bear, as you can see here. Look, I love the expression. It's so awesome. But
Yeah.
he is basically pushed into present day, and now he has a new master, and he must protect his new young master from the evil Queen Belladonna. And he'll basically have to team up with friends and foe to basically bring him back. And that's
Cool.
kind of the gist of it. There's a lot more that goes on. We have medieval lore, so like Arthurian stuff like that, and we also have biblical going on too. So you'll see archangels, stuff like that. So it's pretty nifty. We have a lot of like large aerial battles.
Oh, that
When
dragon
it's
is
like, yeah,
so nice. Wow.
Nice.
I know my
It,
artist is so awesome.
is it going to be black and white, or is it going to be is
So
color?
only if it's a flashback, it's in color. If it's present day, that's in black and white. And so we're kind of doing it a little bit in reverse
Yeah, I was
with
going to say
that.
usually the black and white is the past, to show the older, but
Yep,
yeah, he's a good artist. This guy is really talented. That drag. I
I
mean, I'm drawing
know.
dragons in my book right now, and it's tough. People don't realize like how hard it is to draw
Oh
a
yeah,
dragon. You think
it's
drawing horses are hard?
horses are wild too, but he does a good horse as well. But
Wow.
the dragons, it's wild, especially with a lot of our sort of aerial fight sequences to try and get the
Yeah.
dragon sized properly and the viewpoint and everything like that is it's interesting sometimes, but we make it work, and we have like a lot of so like the full bred dragons are like the big ones. Then you kind of have the half breed that's kind of here with
Oh
the
yes,
sort
yeah.
of humanoid owl man, and
Wow.
so that's kind of what that looks like when they're commingling and stuff like that. So it's pretty nifty, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Nice. It looks great. It's on Fund My Comic and Kickstarter. Is that correct?
It's on Fund My Comic only right now. We originally launched it on Indiegogo, but that closed. It'll stay up on Fund My Comic until people start getting their copies in the mail. So basically, just Fund My Comic for right now. Or you can go on our website, which is mysticalcomics.com, and that will be the only place that you can get it after that point.
Cool. Cool. And you have two fully done graphic novels spin-offs coming out next year, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
those
that's
are
awesome.
completely done. Those basically we're not even going to crowdfund. They're just already available on our website at the point that we put those out. So it's pretty cool. We have like an Exorcist type one called VHS Killers, and it's two fathers that are also exorcists, and they also happen to be brothers, and they're exorcising demons. So you get kind of some of those fun demonic encounters that you kind
Wow.
of go through with that. And we've got our werewolf book, which is Lunar Phases, which is basically two friends. One friend tricks the other one into sort of eating this cocktail of like human and werewolf flesh.
Wait, that's been
And he
published
gets,
before, right? Lunar phases.
I've put it into the first issue of The Good Night. Um, it's in that issue as well.
Oh,
Quite a
okay.
few of those pages, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, those all have great titles. Lunar Phases, VHS Killers, and The Good Night are all awesome
Thanks, man. Yeah,
titles.
working in the film industry has definitely helped me. It's like, okay, I've got a good name. Boop. Here we go.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
the
that's cool.
brainstorming of coming up with something that's, that works. It
Yeah,
takes time, but it's good once you have it.
yeah, that's a good spark of inspiration point kind of thing. Cool. So 2 hours, 10 minutes. One thing is, so Vaughn is about to launch another book. Vaughn, tell
Yeah.
us about that real fast.
So it's my friend's book. I'm going to be the editor of it, but it's my friend Zach. If you guys don't know, every Sunday I have this show called Hard Chargers. It's me and a couple others. And I have guests on. I'd love to have a lot of you guys on there. But we're deciding to launch earlier today because it's my friend's book, Voyage. It's like a sci-fi alien adventure. And if you want to hear more about it, I'm about to go live right after this stream ends. So you could subscribe to my channel. I'll type something in the chat so that way, because I know I'm not modded. So you could just go ahead and click on my icon and find me, or just look up Vaughn Coleman, but sub to my channel. There you go. And yeah, find me on there. Every Sunday we do this, but this is a special launch party. You guys are more than welcome to come on too. But yeah, the party doesn't stop, guys, all day and going into the night.
Yeah, passing it right along.
I've already got my
Other
party
folks.
cup ready, Vaughn.
Good.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will try and pop in there and say hi, Vaughn, but I'm going to
No
get
pressure.
some lunch here in a second, I think. But yeah.
Lunch you can't eat, dude.
Yeah. Okay, so I think with that, I am going to click the button, and that means the stream will end. So, what is there any? Just Jared, do you have any closing thoughts? Because I haven't. Yeah.
I can't think of anything.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to hear your voice because.
Yeah, we're like, somebody check his pulse. Is Jared? How's he doing? Is he doing all right?
Yeah, it's my fault for talking for him too much. But Jared's a genius, though. So
He's very
it's great to
talented.
have him.
Very
Yeah.
talented. Yeah.
Thank you.
He's got to have that dark and mysterious persona, Norwal. Why are you
Yeah.
doing it?
Yeah. That's what I need. I should be the quiet one. Jared would be the one to talk, but no. Okay, I'm gonna end it. So thanks everyone. Chat, thank you so much for being here. Great launch. I think maybe I should check it.
Yeah, and congrats on the launch, by the way. I mean, you guys are putting out a really creative book, man. I love the hotel story. I think it just, man, the whole concept. It's
Thanks.
so great, you know.
Thank you.
I was like, I wish it was mine.
Yeah, it's like it's 120 pages basically, and it's like a full experience, like very smooth read. So yeah, we're over 3K on our way to 4, and yeah, we'll keep the train a rolling. So everyone, thanks, and yeah, give it some retweets on Twitter and all that if you like it. Earthbound's getting fulfilled, so if you get that, let people know if you like it and everything. Keep the hype train rolling. We're going to keep Hotel Story moving here. So yeah, thanks everyone. And with that, I will end the stream here.